I'm a bit confused about how to say the name of this one. Is it Lupin? Sanse? Wolf? Edgar? Cliff? Could somebody help me out with this? Oh, there we go. The reason Lupin has so many different names is because when Monkey Punch, the original creator of the comic, made the character, he used the name of a character still under copyright. This Lupin is supposed to be the grandson of the gentleman thief Arsène Lupin. The problem was that his last book was published less than 30 years before Lupin the Third's debut. Japan in the late 60s had a much more loose attitude toward copyright, and the whole thing became a running court battle for 20 years until the original story went into the public domain. It's pretty likely that those court cases are a major factor in why this game wasn't released internationally. That's a shame, too, because Lupin the Third is a really solid Famicom game. Not an all-time classic, but it's representative of the style of games we're getting at the end of 1987. Not quite there yet, but people are figuring it out. Lupin the Third is the world's greatest thief. He goes on globe-trotting adventures and has big heists. He has two partners, Goemon, descendant of the great Japanese thief, whose sword can cut through anything, and Jigen, the world's greatest marksman. They're pursued around the world by Interpol's Inspector Zenigata. The Famicom game has a subtitle, Pandora no Isan, or Pandora's Legacy. However, it's actually a sequel to the film Castle of Cagliostro. Princess Clarice from that movie has been kidnapped, but she got a message out to Lupin, and he's going after her. There's only 4 stages in the game, but they are big stages. I didn't quite reach the second boss on my playthrough, but it was still nearly 15 minutes between the start of that game and the point where I got a game over. You can go faster than I did, since I was checking all the doors, but you'll also want to go in these side rooms to collect power-ups. The first thing you're going to notice when starting to play Lupin the Third is that you get your choice of which gang member to use. Lupin is the weakest, but he can use all the gadgets, and that can be an absolutely enormous advantage. Jigen and Goemon can only use the transceiver, a gadget that lets you switch out characters. If you use Jigen, he can fire while jumping, and fire multiple bullets. So he's a lot more effective than Lupin at taking out enemies. And Goemon's sword might have a short reach, it's actually longer than it looks. And it's much stronger than Jigen or Lupin's bullets. You find power-ups in these briefcases that you have to break open by attacking them. And they're used by pausing the game with start, selecting which one you want to use, and then you actually activate it by pressing select. Besides the transceiver, you can find a bomb. A few seconds after you place it, it kills every enemy on the screen. Then there's the shotgun. It turns Lupin's weapon into a spread shot for about 10 seconds. Since Lupin can't fire while jumping, it's pretty useful for taking out flying enemies. Next up is a jetpack that lets you fly around the screen. It really forces you upward, and it's kind of difficult to move down. You can turn it off by pressing the A button. The infrared goggles let you see booby traps. There are these spots on the wall that appear after I've used it. If you trip one of those, it makes items fall from the sky. And the placement of those triggers is random. Once you're in an area where you know traps occur, I would go ahead and activate it. There's also passive items, like the Aqua Lung, where if you fall into water, you go into an underwater stage for a little while. You can surface wherever you like, though. The balloon will pick you up out of a hole if you fall down one. Similar to the jetpack, you have to turn it off by pressing the A button. And then there's the Bulletproof Vest. They absorb damage whenever you get hit. Without one, you're knocked out from any blow. So Jigen and Goemon can only take one hit, while Lupin has to collect those bulletproof vests to be able to take more than one blow. If you're knocked out, then that character is captured somewhere on the level, and they can be rescued to restore them to the team. However, if you take too long in a stage, then Inspector Zenigata starts chasing you, and if he captures a character, then they can't be recovered until after the end of the stage. There's one more item that you can collect, rings. These are used as bribes for women to get information out of them. The game starts with you leaping between rooftops in the Kingdom of Cagliostro. You'll have to take advantage of the slopes of the roof to make some of the jumps. You'll uncontrollably run down those if you step on them. Then you make your way through the castle. The knights and swordsmen here can block your bullets, unless you take careful aim and hit them when they're vulnerable. The boss of the castle is this guy who throws clubs at you. If you've saved your power-ups, it'll make quick work of him. Then it's off to China for the next stage, and here you'll have to fight martial artists who are capable of dodging your shots. And there are even some hopping vampires that bullets can't take down. As a gameplay tip, you can press up to jump higher. You'll need to use that to move between platforms. One of the neat things in the game is the sheer variety of enemies in it. Every stage has its batch of unique foes. Even within stages, there's a pretty wide variety. If there's one significant problem with Lupin the Third, it's that it's difficult. Really difficult. You can continue, but you lose all of your equipment. Not an insurmountable challenge, but you still might want to restart and stockpile some stuff. In Japan, people seem to like the game, but think it's too difficult. It's especially praised for capturing the feeling of the original material so well. As for myself, I feel like Lupin the Third achieves its difficulty fairly. If you take a cautious approach, the game is doable, but rushing in is likely to be fatal. That lack of health bars is a real problem, though. If you do get stuck, there are level select codes. You can enter these at the title screen and move ahead. The eternal question of Famidaily is, would I play this game again? And in this case, absolutely. I think this is the best game we've seen from Tosei so far, too. Lupin the Third isn't as polished as the games we're going to be seeing a year or two from now, but it's still a very solid title. And I want to see if I can beat this one. I feel like it's doable.